I am about to share with you one simple 15-minute habit that I do just once a week, and it saves me at least 15 hours every single week. Does that sound like a good trade-off to you? I certainly think so. My name is Megan Sumrell. I'm a time management expert, and I am on a mission to bring work-life harmony to women all over the world. This 15-minute habit that I'm going to talk to you about today is really what I have always labeled as my secret weapon to how I am able to get as much done that I do during the week without sacrificing myself along the way. I get a ton of rest. I work very little hours, but I get more done than the average person, all because of this one simple 15-minute habit. So before I tell you what it is, let me ask you this question. Have you ever been told or read from a productivity expert that you should start your day this way? I bet you've probably read somewhere that the key to productivity is to wake up in the morning, do a brain dump, right? Create a list of everything that you need to do for the day, then go in and identify what your top 3 priorities are. And then your marching orders are just focus on those 3 things, ignoring everything else. And once those are done, then you can move on to the rest of your probably ridiculously long to-do list. If you find that frustrating because you haven't found success with it, I'm not surprised. That's actually really bad advice. So let's talk about why that doesn't work. First of all, if you are sitting down, if you're starting every day asking yourself, okay, what do I need to do today? You are in a state of reaction, meaning you're going to be writing down those things that are right at the top of your head. And you're already, whether you realize it or not, you're already going to be feeling a little anxious. Operating from a state of being kind of reactive to what's at the front of our mind, we often don't make the best choices. Now, the second thing why this is just terrible advice is it prevents you from actually making progress on those bigger projects, the things that you need to work on over the course of many days, weeks, or months. Because if you're thinking about what do I need to do today, you're actually time boxing yourself. And so when you're thinking about that longer project, you're going to say, well, I can't get all of it done today. And you're not going to have a plan on how to get started on it. Now, another reason why this is terrible advice is you are going to miss the opportunity to lean in and maximize efficiencies. What do I mean by that? Well, maybe when you're sitting down for the day, you realize that you need to go drop some clothes off or pick clothes up at the dry cleaners because you know that they are ready today. All right. But you're only thinking about today. So maybe today you get in your car, you go to the dry cleaners, you come back. Tomorrow when you wake up, you realize you need to go run another errand. And guess what? You're driving right by the dry cleaners to go do that next errand. Because you're only thinking in one day, you're going to miss the opportunity to actually get really efficient and group things together to help you save time. I want to share one more reason why this is actually really bad advice. When you sit down for the day and create your list and then think about your top 3 things, you really have no way of knowing if you are overcommitting yourself for the day or if it's even realistic to get the list of all of that done, because you're operating in this kind of silo of let me just think of everything I want to do and then let's hope it gets done. We have got to have a system in place where we are marrying in what's realistic here. How much time do I actually have to work on my to-do list? And how long do the things on my list actually take? If you have found yourself struggling to have any success with this wake up, make a list, get your top 3 priorities done, I want to share with you how I spend 15 minutes every single week that has completely transformed how I actually run my entire life. And it is that every single week I spend 15 minutes creating a plan for the upcoming week. It only takes 15 minutes. Now, I have a separate training video where I break down for you the basic 5-step weekly planning process. Hang on, I'm going to tell you where you can find that. But first, I want to share with you how this 15-minute weekly planning process completely changes our lives. First, when done correctly, it prevents you from overcommitting. Because notice, I said it was a weekly plan, not a weekly task list. That means that your weekly plan is going to include what are you already committed to? What are the things that you want and need to get done for the week? How long do they take? And when can you actually actually see time on your calendar to get those done. So when you have that whole plan in place, what it actually tells you is it will clearly illustrate for you how much free time you have launching into the week. Because of that, it prevents you from overcommitting. So when new opportunities come from the week, because you can clearly see how much time you have available, you get really smart about what you say yes to and what you say no to. Think of it like I like thinking about my weekly plan as logging into my bank and seeing how much money is left in my account, right? My weekly plan shows me how much time is left for my week so that I make smart choices on what I say yes to, kind of pulling from my available time, and what I might say no to. Now, the other thing that this weekly plan does is it keeps me focused on the most important things that need to be done. Now, you may be asking yourself, but isn't that the same thing about circling those top 3 priorities? No. And here's why. When you actually create your plan for the entire week, this gives you the opportunity to look at both the short-term things and the long-term things. And what often happens when we're doing that daily list making is we avoid those longer term or larger projects, and we fail to make progress on some of those, or they pile up to the very last minute. Whereas when we're doing our weekly planning, it allows us to see what might be, that there might be something more important that's due farther down the road that we could actually be starting on now. A weekly planning also allows you to really lean into those efficiencies that I was talking about. Because I can see everything over the next, 7-ish days that is competing for my time, I can very thoughtfully determine how I might want to group certain activities together to make the most of my time. For instance, maybe I only go out once during the week and run all my errands, in which case I can save so much more time than if I were to go and run a different errand every single day. Now, another benefit to weekly planning is that it helps prevent you from multitasking. We often end up multitasking, the bad type of multitasking, where we're actually trying to focus on more than one thing at a time, such as you're trying to send an email but listening to a conversation or a training at the same time. When you have a weekly plan, because you've laid out the actual plan of how you're going to get everything done, it means that you're not going to be feeling so anxious or pressured to try and race against the clock, and that often leads us to multitasking. Most of the time, when you think about when do I fall into a trap of multitasking, it's because you're feeling stress or anxiety that you don't have the time you need to get stuff done. When you create your weekly plan, you see how you're going to get it done. So it helps prevent you from multitasking. Also means that the work that you're going to produce is going to get done quicker and be of higher quality. Now, one final thing that I want to touch on, which is really cool about creating that weekly plan, is it helps minimize decision fatigue in your life. So let's go back and revisit that wake up in the morning, create the huge list. One subtle thing that's happening when you're working from that list is that every single time throughout the day you go to look at it, you're basically asking yourself, what should I do next? You are having to make decisions all day long as you go back and look at that list. When we wake up in the morning, our brain has a limited amount of energy to make good decisions. This is often why by the end of the day, we start making poor choices, whether it's in how we're spending our time, maybe food that we're eating, etc. It's not because we don't have enough willpower. It's because our brain is tapped out. We have decision fatigue. And when we have decision fatigue, we just don't make good choices anymore. When you create a weekly plan, instead of me looking at a list and saying, what should I do next? I am looking at my plan, and my plan is telling me, hey, Megan, here's what you're doing next. I am not suffering from decision fatigue every single day because I have proactively decided what it is I'm going to be working on during the week and when I'm getting it done. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I want to tell you where you can actually go see this basic 5-step weekly planning process. I've got an app out in both the App Store and Google Play. It's called The Pink Bee. Just search for the word The Pink Bee, all one word. You'll see a little pink bee pop up, and download that app. And then once you unlock it, you will see in there, I've got a very detailed training showing you exactly how to walk through creating a plan for yourself for the week that allows for flexibility, that keeps you from getting overbooked and overcommitted, and also has white space in there as well so that you can accommodate the things that you don't know about that are coming coming your way at the start of each week as well. Now, if you found this helpful, I would appreciate it if you would go ahead and subscribe so that you do not miss any other videos heading your way.